Hello everyone and welcome back to the course Basics of Financial Literacy. So this is lecture 5 and today's topic is about debt management and strategies for repayment. So let's start with the definition of debt. So it is money that is owed to another party, and there are different types of debt such as good debt versus bad debt. And managing debt is key to financial health, and I'm sure that you've already heard about different financial stories with difficulties of paying debt. So when does debt become a problem? It becomes problematic when repayment becomes difficult to repay. Yes, and there are warning signs such as missed payments, relying on credit to cover expenses, and increasing balances. And long-term impact of unmanageable debt is low credit scores, high interest costs, and stress. And that's why you're taking this course, so that you know more about problems with debt and how to avoid them. So let's look at good debt and bad debts. So good debt is considered as student loans, mortgages, and other debts that can increase wealth or value over time. Yes, so it's more like kind of investment. And bad debt is high interest credit card debt, payday loans, and debts used to finance depreciating assets. And here is an example. So a mortgage helps you build home equity. Yes, so it is considered as a good debt. And while carrying a 3,000 balance on a high interest credit card for non-essential items will be a bad debt, and it will lead to financial strain. So let's take a look at common types of debt. So credit card debt, personal loans, student loans, auto loans, payday loans, and each type of debt has different interest rates and repayment terms that you need to consider when you are taking this debt. So, and here is an example of comparing debts. Janelle has 5,000 in student loans at 5% interest and 3,000 in credit card debt at 20% interest. So managing these two debts requires different strategies due to the different interest rates and repayment flexibility. So why is it important to have debt repayment strategy? And because without such strategy, debt can spiral out of control and it will lead to many problems. So repayment strategies will help you to reduce the amount of interest paid and shorten the repayment period. So let's talk about creating a debt management plan. So first of all, you need to list all debts, include balance, interest rates, and minimum payments, and then set a budget to ensure consistent payments, and prioritize which debts to pay first. And here's an example of listing and categorizing debts. So Maksat has 3 debts, 2,000 on credit card at 18% interest, then 10,000 on auto loan at 6% interest, and 15,000 student loan at 4%. Yes, so he creates a debt list with details to help him choose the best repayment approach so that he doesn't miss any payments. So, and there are different strategies how to deal with debts, and one of them is a debt snowball method. So you focus on paying off the small debts first while making minimum payments on larger debts. And benefits is quick wins boost motivation that you can do it and that you will be able to pay off your debts. So from the previous example, Maksat pays off his 2,000 credit card debt before focusing on his auto loan, then his student loan, gaining momentum with each win. So this is one of the strategies. Now let's look at another strategy. Before we continue with another strategy, let's take a look at example of using the debt snowball method. So Saule has 3 debts, 800 on a retail card, 4,000 on a personal loan, and 7,500 on student loans. So by paying off the 800 retail card first, she builds momentum while before tackling larger debts. And this is like one of the approaches. Another approach is debt avalanche method. So you focus on paying off debts with the highest interest rate first to save the most on interest. Yes, and the benefits of such approach is that you are minimizing the overall cost of debt. And Maksat pays off his credit card debt first, 18%, before his auto loan, 6%, and student loan, 4%, saving the most on interest. Yes, so in this example, the order of paying debts is similar, but it's only an example, so in real life, it's up to you which method to use. So now let's take a look at the example with using the debt avalanche method. So Talgat has 3 debts, 1,000 credit card at 22% interest, 6,000 auto loan at 7%, and 8,000 student loan at 5%. Yes, so as you can see with this example and previous, people usually concentrate on the credit card debt first because it has high interest rate. Yes, and by doing so, you are reducing the interest that you pay over time. Okay, now let's compare these two methods. So debt snowball provides quick wins but may cost more in interest, and debt avalanche saves more on interest but may take longer to see progress. And if you're already in financial stress, you might consider debt snowball. Yes, you want to see quick wins. Both methods are effective. Choose based on your personal financial and motivational needs, because you know yourself better and your financial situation. And here's an example of choosing the right method. So Leila has debts ranging from 500 to 10,000. So if she is motivated by small wins, she may choose the snowball method. If saving on interest is her priority, then the avalanche method would work best. So we want to prioritize high interest debt because it will help you to understand better your financial situation. So by high interest rate, I mean credit cards and payday loans. And strategy to lower interest rates, balance transfers, consolidating high interest debts into a lower interest loan. Yes, so this strategy should be tailored to your personal needs. And here's an example of paying off high interest debt. So Жанна has a 3,000 credit card balance at 18% interest and the 5,000 auto loan at 7%. So by focusing on the credit card debt first, she saves significantly on interest costs. Yes, so as you can see, examples might be simplified for the purpose of learning, but then like when you're developing your own strategy, you should kind of take into consideration all factors that may impact your decision. Now let's take a look at debt consolidation. So when you're doing debt consolidation, you're combining multiple debts into a single loan with a lower interest rate. It simplifies payments but may extend the repayment period. So it can be done via personal loans, balance transfer, credit cards, or home equity loans. Yeah, so again, you need to look at your own situation. when you are making a decision on debt consolidation. So what are the pros and cons of debt consolidation? So let's start with pros. Lower interest rates, easier to manage payments, and cons is longer repayment term, potential fees, risk of falling back into debt if spending habits aren't controlled. Yes, so when you are making financial decisions, you also need to change your spending habits. Otherwise, it might be too hard to change your financial situation. So let's continue with debt restructuring options. Yes, so you can renegotiate loan terms with creditors, lowering interest rates or extending repayment periods, and but it will have impact on your credit score and long-term debt cost. Yes, so try to pay your debt according to initial conditions, but if you're struggling, then it's better to start negotiation on debt restructuring. And here is an example of debt restructuring. So Marat negotiates with his credit card company to lower his interest rate from 19% to 12% in exchange for a fixed repayment plan. Yes, so he got what he wanted. He decreased his interest rate, but in exchange he agreed for a fixed repayment plan. And by doing so, he reduces his monthly payments and makes his debt more manageable. So there are high chances that he will pay it back. Debt settlement involves negotiating with creditors to pay a lump sum that is less than the total amount owed. But the risk is that it can hurt your credit score and there may be tax implications. Yes, so like when you are dealing with such situation, you need to make an analysis and write down pros and cons of your decision before making final decision. Now let's take a look at the example of debt settlement. So Yerke owes 10,000 in credit card debt, but can only afford to pay 6,000. So she negotiates with her credit card company, and they agree to settle the debt for 6,500. Yes, so if the company sees that the person is in big financial stress and won't be able to pay its debt, the company might reconsider the initial options, but it's also not so easy to do. So what are the risks of debt settlement? So debt settlement can significantly lower your credit score, may still leave you with tax liabilities on forgiven debt, and not a guaranteed solution. Some creditors may refuse to settle, and usually it's kind of hard to persuade them to change the conditions and settle. And it applies not only to personal finance, also on a country level. Some countries refuse to settle and make some changes. Yes? So that's why when you are making a debt, you need to think about implications. Yes, think a step ahead. Otherwise, you might end up in this situation where you need to negotiate the debt settlement, and creditors may refuse to do so. And bankruptcy you can use as a last resort. So in Kazakhstan, we have a law about personal bankruptcy, and it was accepted recently, and the mechanisms are still kind of in place and test it. So, and it will have severe impact on your credit score and financial future. So that's why you should use it as a last resort and should only be considered when all other options have been exhausted. Yes, if debt restructuring, debt settlement did not work out and you feel that you are not able to pay your debts, then you can use bankruptcy as a last resort. Okay, so now let's look at the example. Yes, when bankruptcy is necessary. So Madi has 50,000 in medical bills and 20,000 in credit card debt. Yes, after losing his job, he cannot keep up with payments and files for personal bankruptcy to eliminate most of his debts. Yes, because in life you might have different situations and that kind of in this case Madi has a lot of debt and he lost his job and it takes a while to find a new job, and that's why he decided to file for personal bankruptcy. Yes, in order to start with a fresh start. However, it will impact his ability to take new loans and it will affect his credit score. Yes, so that's why you're taking this course so that you can avoid such situation, and if this happens, then you have strategies how to deal with it. So how would you rebuild after that? Yes, after paying off debts or emerging from bankruptcy, you should focus on rebuilding credit, your credit history, and open a secured credit card, make timely payments, and avoid new debt. Yes, and then it's a good idea to establish an emergency fund to avoid future debt, because you cannot predict what will happen in your life, and that's a good idea to have such emergency fund. And here's an example of rebuilding credit after debt. So after settling his debts, Jandos opens a secured credit card with a 300 limit. Yes, so if you had financial problems in the past, it will affect your credit score, and then your credit card will be with a low limit, especially when you are settling your debts. And then Jandos makes small purchases and pays the full balance each month, so that it will help him to rebuild his credit score over time. Okay, so this lecture was about debt repayment, and the strategies how to deal with high amount of debt. So in conclusion, managing debt requires careful planning and strategy, and one of the ways to do better is to take this course. Pay off high interest debts first and choose a repayment method that works for you and for your financial needs and emotional needs, because you know yourself better and your financial situation. Consolidation and restructuring can help, but you should take into account all potential risks, and always aim to prevent future debt by building savings and improving financial habits, and creating an emergency fund would be a good idea for your financial future. Thank you for your attention, and I'll see you in lecture 6. Так. Да, сейчас перерыв, где-то минут 10-15. Что-то, может, микрофон надо включить?
Перерыв начал.
Ну, где-то минут 5-10.
То есть?
Интересно.